Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tesla Life. What are we sitting at here? The 28th of August already. Summer's almost over. Episode 113. How are you today, everyone? Glad you could join us. With me, as always, Mr. Casey Green has joined us from the Mid-Atlantic region of the United States. Mr. Green, how are you today?
Doing pretty well. This is the new office. It's isn't done yet. The computer is out in the kitchen.
So you did get the computer. You did get it. It made it back in a subsequent trip.
Yes.
Very good.
The screens are over here to my left, laying on the floor against the wall because they're still attached to the monitor arms, and the computer itself is out in the kitchen. So
it's in pieces, but things are starting to come together.
Yes. It's a blast.
Excellent. Oh, and so how was the subsequent trailer trips? Was there any more of a difference in your first trip, or were you getting the hang of it second and third time?
So this one was a trip with just the car because thanks to our friends at Samsung, I had to make an unplanned trip down there. And while we were there, we said, let's get as much stuff as we can load in the car. And we did. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
And we've got another unplanned trip thanks to Samsung next for the weekend, the 3 day. Oh, so we don't have to rush back. It's a 3 day weekend.
There you go. You forgot it was a long weekend coming up.
Yes. And with that, the that's probably also going to be without a trailer, but we might be able to work something out with the trailer, and it'll be a blast.
Excellent. Yeah. All right, well, let's get to the week's news because there's an awful lot of it. As always, never really changes that way. But what happened this week, earlier in the week, there was a report from Clean Technica who talked a little bit about loaded ships going to Europe, China, and Japan. And what they wanted to do is kind of dispel some rumors that they feel will start to happen after next month, when it's reported that apparently there's going to be less ships going to China, and some of those ships are going to be heading to Europe instead. And apparently Japan's going to get about the same amount. But the reason, of course, as we've discussed about earlier before the show started, is that the ships that were indeed headed to China are not going to be required shortly. And that is because of course,
no demand.
Yeah, that is exactly how some people will try to spin it, but that is not the case. Of course, there is a small gigafactory that will be opening up soon, which is one of our later stories today. But certainly the opening of Gigafactory 3 in China plays to why they don't need as many shiploads of Model 3s to be sent to that country. So they're taking that extra demand and they're sending it to Europe, apparently. So Europe's going to get a couple more ships full of Model 3s instead. So that would seem to believe that seems that there's even more demand if they can ship extra shipments, but that's not the way that some people are going to spin it. But we're here to tell you first, that's what's going to be happening next month.
They're going to say trade war. Nobody wants American cars in China. So I wonder if they're going to run the line during their shakedown testings, or whatever they're going to call this period while they're training everybody on the line, getting up to full speed. Are they going to run at 25%, 50%?
Yeah.
And how many cars is that?
How many will they actually produce? Yes.
Yeah.
Because of course you would think that there would be a lot more in play or set based on what they've learned in Fremont over the past number of months, quarters, years with the Model 3 production, that they'd be able to transfer a lot of that knowledge to a new factory and a new line.
Yeah, and that one's running on what now? 3 lines or 2 lines?
I believe it's
one
for
inside,
the 3. For the 3, I believe it's 2 lines.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 2 for S and X and 2 for 3, and then now at least one more for
China. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that starts to roll out and what those numbers are going to be. So, but again, we're going to get that to later in the broadcast. We've got a little story about that.
Okay.
Speaking of gigafactories, we have heard in the past about Gigafactory 4. In one of the presentations, Elon alluded to a slide that showed some piece of European countryside and indicated that no, that's not the actual site. It's just a nice picture of Europe somewhere, and indicated that they were getting down to the brass tacks of picking where the Gigafactory 4 was going to be placed. Well, recently, a leaked report from a German newspaper had indicated that Tesla has been in discussions with a German district. Quite a few discussions have been happening. Of course, that particular district or county is not willing to speak about what is going on. They just replied back with no comment because, of course, they probably don't want to nix a deal that's in the making by leaking something out to the press. So the press has caught wind of it. They believe that there's something going on in Lower Saxon in Germany. I'm sorry, Saxony, Saxony. And that's where they believe some activity is happening about negotiations for Gigafactory 4. So again, it's always been Germany has always been way up there on the list of possible locations. So it kind of plays into what people have known in the past. Its location is ideal for the European Union, and as a number of spots are. But this is what the press has caught on to in Germany and started to report on earlier this week. So we will have to see, because Elon had indicated, was it not, Casey, that there was going to be some sort of a formal announcement before the end of 2019?
Yes.
So maybe sooner than later, but we're certainly closing in on that as August closes up here. We've got another 3 months possible where that information could come to us. So looking forward to hearing if it will be Germany or somewhere else. But
go ahead. If it is Germany, does that mean that the German government will stop discriminating against them? I know it won't help them with Audi and Mercedes and Volkswagen Group, but will it help them with the government since they're now local? It
may be, because that's been a battle for some time, hasn't it? With subsidies and rebates, Germany as a country has not been acting too favorably to Tesla. They certainly bend over backwards for their own automobile manufacturers, but Tesla's been excluded or outside the rules, strangely enough, for a number of the incentives. But that may change if they are now a German plant that's hiring German people. And that's the other bonus of Germany, is that they come from such a strong automotive background. Engineers and people that work within the trade should be quite easy to load Tesla up with employees that have the skills to make those cars in Germany. So
hopefully they don't pull a Michigan and take the jobs, take the tax revenue, and even invest in them as part of the retirement plan for the state, but still discriminate against them for everything else. They can't sell cars, can't service cars.
yeah. I hope that's not the case. I hope that will not happen. But we will see. Time will tell.
It's exciting.
Next, Tesla is again out front of all EV makers. A story from Inside EVs talks a little bit about the adoption of electric vehicles in the U.S., talks a little bit about the industry as a whole. We mentioned this kind of last week about it kind of being stagnant without Tesla's numbers in it. So this just kind of reinforces that story last week, where it talks a little bit about how Tesla has been so far out in front of the competition that it's almost scary. Like the amount that they have pushed the EV brand awareness, the knowing that Tesla has electrified cars is so much higher than any other manufacturer. It's just it's certainly something that should worry some other automobile makers. But we'll see if we can share a screen here, and just so you can just see this incredible brand awareness map here, showing that Tesla way out in front. Interesting, Toyota is second at a 52% ratio, Tesla at 81%, and then in third place Chevy with 47% and Nissan with 42%, rounding out the top four. But very interesting to see that this brand awareness of electric vehicles, Tesla is the king, top of the heap, and has been that way for quite some time. This particular marketing group, Cox Automotive, has run a number of different surveys, and we will put the link into the show notes if you would like to go into some more detail about what Cox Automotive has reported on here. But again, not a big surprise for us, but it is certainly something that that is good to see in Tesla's eyes, that they're exploding with that amount.
Certainly. So, I mean, I'd love to see the other manufacturers have something compelling out there that people actually want to buy. While we were down in South Carolina, we actually parked at public charging, and an iPace showed up and plugged in next to us, and a Volt came and iced the spot and didn't charge. And
those damn Volts!
And then I was going to plug him in. I swiped my card and pulled the handle out. I was going to plug him in, but he had a 2012 or 2013 that had the where it
you had to release it from the car, so you couldn't pop it and put it in.
And I didn't want Jimmy his port because, you know.
Yeah. Man, Casey, that's going the extra mile. Let me tell you, you're willing to plug in somebody that didn't even have the common sense to do it themselves.
Done it before.
Oh man, yeah. So it's again, Tesla's out front. There's no competition that is catching up in certainly EV awareness, and I can certainly see that wherever I go. People know the Tesla brand. They know it's electric car. They know that that's what they make. And you speak to the common person, and sometimes they have no idea. They couldn't name another EV brand if they tried. You know, it's very difficult.
They couldn't even name Tesla. Like, if they know what Tesla is, they wouldn't even name Tesla as an EV. They're like, oh, those are those cool cars.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, related to this, I glanced through an article this morning that said that how far California was on the path to their EV requirement. Was it 30 million by 2035 or something to that effect? And they're like, oh, they're only 8% in. And if you take the Volts and other plugins out, it's even less. And I was sitting there thinking, if you take Tesla out, it's even less than that.
That's right. There was an article about them not. I guess they're not on par to where they should be in order to reach the goal yet.
Right. And the commenter pointed out a really good point that because of the way that this rollout is happening with the EVs, with the compelling EVs, it's probably going to be an S-curve situation, because now that the Model 3 is out there, it's hitting the stride, the Model Y is on its tail, and then you have the e-tron and the iPace and all the other cars where the price is coming down underneath that 100,000 mark. That it looks like they will probably be able to get really close to their number by the time the day actually comes.
Right. Yeah. Well, Casey's got our next story, a little bit about some battery sourcing is going on.
Yeah. So we know that Tesla likes to get their batteries from Panasonic. They've been doing it for quite some time. Any vehicle produced since the Roadster has had Panasonic cells in it. And now, with the Gigafactory 3, there's a report that claims that LG Chem won the contract, and that it is not exclusive. So they could actually still have more battery suppliers actually in-house until Tesla Energy is making its own cells as well as modules, which is pretty cool.
So that would you speculate that this is definitely for Model 3 production in China?
Yeah, this is exclusively for Model 3 in China, if the report is accurate. And but it's not the first time that Tesla's worked with LG Chem. The original Roadster version 3, it was an upgrade package to the original end of version 2. They actually would take your battery back, rebuild it with LG cells, and it would come back with a 400-mile range and brand new batteries, which was pretty cool.
Ah, so they were actually producing the 18650s
Yes.
to those cans and placing them back in a Roadster after the pack was rebuilt.
Yes, and that was with LG Chem cells. It was pretty cool. I don't know anybody who would do for 600 miles in a Roadster, but it was there. In fact, the very first Roadster I saw was in Detroit. It had driven from the Bay Area to Detroit. It was all salty and disgusting, but that was where I first saw the Roadster, and it was amazing.
Yeah, so that's interesting that that, as you said, it's not exclusive.
Right.
They could get other battery manufacturers to produce the 2170 can as well. I guess it just all depends on volume that they require. So
in fact, LG is already making the size. They call it 21700 because, for whatever reason, battery manufacturers love the trailing zero.
right.
And thankfully, Elon Musk doesn't, so that we can save a digit and we can just say 2170. That's what they call them.
Very good. So that kind of leads us again. We've got a later story that leads into China again, but we'll get there. Wanted to talk a little bit about the big event that we put on recently, which happened in Kitchener-Waterloo. As for those of you who remember,
The barbecue.
we were going to have a barbecue, and it was at the Tesla Service Center in Kitchener-Waterloo, and we had a fantastic turnout, and happened this past Saturday. Let me see if I can share an image that happened here. Oh, here it is. You should be getting it there. We got at final count. Well, actually, our webpage indicated that we had 79 cars register for it, and of the 79, I believe 68 of them were Model 3s. And then we had about 5 of the S's and 4 of the 3s, and a spattering of some other electric cars, a Spark EV, a Bolt, i3, and Leaf also showed up. So we had some representation from all across the board. We had a fabulous afternoon. Weather was perfect, low winds, sunny skies, few clouds, and we had a fantastic time. Got to view some car modifications. Some people showed off what they were able to do with their cars, wraps. Certainly, they had rims and tires and special coolers that are built for the frunk, and certainly towing hooks and bicycle rigs to haul bikes around. It was a great afternoon. We had a great time, and we had a barbecue going on. We raised about $155 for charity, which went to the local food bank, and everyone had a fabulous time. So much so that we've already been roped in to do it again next year.
There you go.
So it was a great time, and we certainly look forward to doing it again coming up third week of August. Put it on your calendars if you are going to be up in the Southern Ontario region. We will do it again on a Saturday. It'll be the third week of August. So join us if you can.
So you mentioned the coolers.
Yes.
This reminds me of when I used to sell Hondas. They had in the back of the original Ridgeline, they had the in-bed trunk. And in the in-bed trunk, you had your spare tire. But below that, like the tire was up on a shelf and back. But below that was it was a tub. And at the bottom of the tub was a drain. So you could literally fill it up with ice and beverages
Yeah.
And when the party was over, you could just remove the plug and drain the trunk out.
Drain away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
So, given the position of all of the frunks so far, I don't know about the one in the semi. As long as you put the drain in the right place, it could still be done today.
Yeah,
A lot
definitely.
more
Definitely.
ecologically.
There's certainly room. You could hook up your own little drain line if you wanted to. Or, I guess a drilled hole in the appropriate spot would work as well. But what I was speaking of is there is a particular Coleman cooler that is made Coleman stackable, I believe it's called. It does not have a drain plug, but it fits nicely in the Model 3 frunk. Lid closes just fine because of its lower profile. But that was one of the items that was shown at the Tesla barbecue. And it looks like possibly Casey has frozen up. We'll see if he can reconnect with us here as we go along. But we'll just keep pushing along with the news. Recently,